we begin this month of August, Women's Month. The financial and economic inclusion of women is vital to the empowerment of women in our country with a view of achieving gender equality, and is also central to our efforts to tackle poverty and also to advance the interests of all people in our country, especially. Discussion on the economy focused on the actions that we need to take to give effect to the strategic priority of inclusive growth and job creation, as clearly contained in the medium-term development plan adopted by the government of our country. We have reaffirmed that industrial policy must be the leading instrument of economic development and transformation, which will in turn help to shape our trade policy. For this industrial policy to succeed, we need an all-of-government approach. As the representation from the Economic Transformation Committee, a subcommittee of the National Executive Committee, noted, this requires coordinated alignment across multiple centers of state power, not just trade and industry and competition, but also energy and electricity, transport, water, agriculture, land reform, rural development, public works and infrastructure, public enterprises, mining, higher education, science and innovation, petroleum, finance, as well as labor. We noted that our network industries need to be efficient, reliable, but they also need to be competitive if we are to drive the industrialization that is so much needed in our country. We must therefore ensure that our integrated resource plan advances energy security and emission reduction targets while reducing the cost of electricity to the economy and more particularly to the households in our country. We must continue with the restructuring of the electricity sector to ensure increased levels of competition and lower prices. We must move with speed to implement our freight logistics roadmap so that we enhance the capacity and capability of all our port networks. As we focus on labor-intensive sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing and construction, we need also to be forward-looking, rapidly developing industries such as battery storage and electric vehicle production. We have confirmed our commitment to accelerating infrastructure investment, understanding that it is the backbone of spatial transformation, industrial expansion, and economic inclusion. And in fact, as we have often said, infrastructure is the flywheel that our economy needs to propel forward to create jobs. We must use our infrastructure build and maintenance to create platforms for Black industrialists, for workers, for small, medium enterprises, and marginalized communities in urban areas and in rural areas. We must ensure it assists us in the localization production of critical inputs such as steel and promotes processing and beneficiation of our rich mineral endowment. It is clear that the slow pace of infrastructure rollout is not simply a lack of money. It is a problem of capacity and execution that is experienced at all levels, at national level, provincial level, and local level. This is an area of focus as we seek to increase capacity at all these levels. As we work to grow the economy, we will ensure that we promote employment and economic inclusion. We have agreed on a stronger focus on youth employment, including the expansion of the presidential employment stimulus and incentivizing private sector job creation. South Africa is confronted by the immediate and damaging punitive tariffs announced by the United States. While we must act with urgency and purpose to limit the impact of these very punitive tariffs, we must also undertake measures to ensure the resilience of our economy and exports into the future. We will continue our engagements with the United States with a view of normalizing trade relations and generally strengthen bilateral relations. As we speak, the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, working together with the Presidency, is involved in discussions with the United States with a view of resolving this tariff imposition on us. At the same time, we must invest in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area and diversifying our export markets. DTIC is already working on a number of interventions to try to support and assist various exporters of products that come from our country to various other markets. Much as the value chain creation of all these exports takes time, but we are pleased that, in general, the producers and exporters are working with our government and trying to find solutions to this calamity that has befallen us. We began a discussion on the issue of monetary policy and specifically the role and the value of inflation targeting. Everyone understands that it is the Minister of Finance, together with Cabinet, who sets the inflation target in consultation with the South African Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank then operates independently in pursuit of the inflation target that will have been agreed upon. We need to have further discussion within government on how we give effect to our conference resolutions and manifesto commitments to align monetary, fiscal, and trade policy. On local government, we were reminded that local government is the epicenter of infrastructure decline and poor service delivery. We agreed that we will show greater resolve and urgency in setting municipalities on a new path, the energy and determination being seen in cleaning up and fixing up infrastructure in the eThekwini Metro should be translated into a national movement that must sweep through every town in our country. Our cities and towns, and specifically the communities on the ground, must feel and see that we are not going to allow municipalities to do as they wish, while citizens endure the misery of poor service delivery. The ANC branch remains the most important site of links with our people. This means that each and every one of us must ensure that we build strong activist branches that can represent the needs and the aspirations of local communities. A key part of the ANC renewal is to build ANC activist branches that are active in communities, to advocate for, engage local government, and to help resolve the service delivery challenges that our people face. The ANC election strategy workshop called for the establishment for a service delivery war room in all our provinces and municipalities, so that we are able to build a responsive, people-centered and sustainable culture of dealing with the issues in all local municipalities, in line with our enduring commitment to build a better life for all. The marching order to all ANC-run municipalities and ward councillors is that we cannot proceed as if it continues to be business as usual. We need to undertake extraordinary measures to address challenges at local government level. The NEC will be having a special session in a week or two to focus more attention on the challenges that we are facing in local government. Preparations for the local government election campaign are underway. In April, we held our election strategy workshop. Work is underway throughout the country to set up our election structures and appoint our election management. We call on all NEC members to ensure we give attention to the establishment of these election structures and ensure our most seasoned and experienced campaign managers are appointed to help with the campaign. The Electoral Commission has developed draft guidelines for candidate selection, which will be further processed and finalized in the special NEC that I spoke about. On the Government of National Unity, we welcomed the comprehensive report from the Government of National Unity Task Team that's led by the Secretary General on the assessment of the GNU since its establishment immediately after the 2024 elections. The National Executive Committee identified a number of areas in which there is substantial progress on the work of the GNU over the past 12 months. Within Parliament, the ANC has adapted to the complexity of operating in the new political landscape where it no longer holds a majority. Managing parliamentary committees has not been an easy process for the ANC. However, our caucus is developing new ways of building relations with parties with whom we don't always agree. The budget process has taught us many lessons, including being able to build tactical and issue-based voting alliances with other parties. We welcome the cooperation on the budget, including with parties that are not part of the Government of National Unity. This cooperation is a real demonstration of acting in the interests of the people of South Africa, and we are grateful to all those parties that cooperated with us to have the budget passed. The overall picture is that despite all the noise, through the GNU, we've been able to safeguard the core progressive policy agenda of the National Democratic Revolution, which is the core pillar of ANC policies. The NEC's view is that the tactic of the Government of National Unity has enabled the ANC to continue to execute its agenda for nation building and fundamental socio-economic transformation of South Africa, albeit under conditions imposed on us by the strategic electoral setback that we suffered last year in 2024. Both the strategic policy priorities and the budget point to the direction that we should support. In our assessment, we have concluded that the decision to establish the Government of National Unity was correct. Our people appreciate that it has brought stability and enable progress in addressing their challenges. The NEC reaffirms the view that the GNU is a correct tactic and remains valid. Through access to state power in the GNU, we have been able to defend the democratic gains and to advance our transformation agenda despite the pressure and resistance from the global and domestic right-wing forces. We have not retreated from the progressive domestic and foreign policy positions of our movement. We have extensively discussed how we proceed with respect to the Government of National Unity, given our analysis and practical experience of the past 12 months. Accordingly, the National Executive Committee considered a number of options about how to strengthen the GNU and improve its effectiveness and stability to give full and proper effect to the statement of intent that was signed by the parties that are party to the GNU, as well as the 3 strategic priorities of the 7th administration. As part of this, we have agreed to engage with parties that are willing to play a constructive role in furthering national unity and stability so we can achieve our 3 strategic priorities, namely driving inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and tackling the high cost of living, and building a capable developmental state. In line with the statement of intent, we will first begin our engagements with the parties currently who are part of the GNU with regard to seeing the extent to which we can expand and advance the GNU with other parties that see themselves supporting the objectives that we set out in the statement of intent. The National Executive Committee took time to have an in-depth discussion on the decision of the South African Communist Party to contest the forthcoming elections independent of the ANC. We recognize that the South African Communist Party is an independent political organization that has the right to contest elections as it sees fit. As the ANC, we have no wish, nor do we have any intention to interfere with the decision that the South African Communist Party has taken. However, as we have indicated to the South African Communist Party, our ally, we disagree with the decision. We believe that this decision has fundamental implications for the strategy and program of the National Democratic Revolution and the alliance that has led the struggle for liberation in our country since the 1920s. While the alliance between the SACP and the ANC has spanned the better part of a century, this is not about the past. It is not about nostalgia. As the ANC, we are seriously concerned that this decision taken by the South African Communist Party to participate in elections in their own name and right will significantly weaken the forces for national democratic change. We will continue to seek to engage with the SACP on how we will run those elections. We will go out from this meeting to explain our position to our structures at every level of our organization so that comrades, members of the ANC are empowered to explain the challenge this poses to our transformation agenda. We are determined to ensure that these developments do not divide our movement or cause instability. We reiterate that the SACP members who hold ANC membership are full members of our movement with the same rights and duties as any other ANC member, rights and responsibilities that are clearly stated in our Constitution. So we will continue to engage with the party to see the extent to which the decision they have taken can be fully understood, and also the extent to which we will be able to work together as the 2026 elections come, in which they have decided to participate in their own name and right. We also took time to discuss the national dialogue, and the National Executive Committee reaffirmed its position that it sees the national dialogue as a process to enable inclusive dialogue amongst our people, inclusive discussion and conversation across the country about the vexing issues and challenges that face our nation. The national dialogue is therefore a series of what we expect to be meaningful conversations about the South Africa that we all want and how we must get to that ideal South Africa of our dreams. The first National Convention will be held on the 15th to the 17th of this month, August, bringing together around 1,000 delegates from more than 30 different sectors through which our people are represented in one fashion or another. This National Convention is intended to set the agenda for the national dialogue and outline how the dialogue will unfold in localities across the country over the next 8 to 10 months. The eminent persons group that has been chosen to be the real guarantors and the wise people has already been making a meaningful contribution in ensuring that the national dialogue will be held properly. This dialogue is an opportunity to mobilize South Africans to address the challenges our country faces and to restore our country to the platform of transformation, development, and progress. It is an opportunity to build on the achievements of the last 3 decades by defining a shared vision and a common program to take South Africa forward. We must be clear that the national dialogue does not displace the democratic processes mandated by our Constitution. Its outcome cannot supersede the electoral mandates that was given to the parties that are part of our parliament and our national executive. But it can deliver a social compact that outlines clear commitments and responsibilities for different stakeholders, government, political parties, business, labor, civil society, manifested in a variety of formations, be it religious communities, sporting communities, and a whole number of other social formations. It will also give opportunities for individual citizens of our country to participate. The task that we have is to ensure that the outcomes of the national dialogue can be institutionalized in a manner that informs and guides the direction our country takes moving forward. We have been clear that this dialogue must be as inclusive as possible. It needs to be citizen-led, and it must reflect the views of the people of South Africa. Citizens must be able to freely and fully participate in the national dialogue as individuals in organized formations and through their representative bodies. As I conclude, the road ahead requires clear programmatic action, and the National Executive Committee was clear that it is the ANC that must continue mobilizing our people as we take the actions that need to be taken to take the country forward. We must urgently implement a recalibrated development plan or path which will be centered on jobs, reindustrialization, land reform, youth empowerment, the empowerment of the women of our country, and the professionalization of the state. Political education must become compulsory at all levels of the movement and also in the public service. In this regard, we must welcome the fact that over 100,000 ANC members have now completed the foundation course that was launched a few months ago. A renewed social compact must be pursued not to protect vested interests, but to secure a national consensus on fundamental economic and social transformation and the battle against poverty, inequality, as well as unemployment. At a time of deep social anxiety, the ANC must again become the organizer of hope. It must be the merchant of hope to our people and the architect of national unity. It must also be the driver of ethical, capable, and activist leadership across society. We must reconnect our theory of revolution with the daily lives and dreams of our people in practice. Above all, we must reassert the ANC as the strategic center of change. The government of national unity is transitional, and it is also a contested formation. Our alliance with the SACP, COSATU, and SANCO is historic. It is principled and non-negotiable. Our renewal must be organizational, ideological, as well as cultural and political. We must build a disciplined activist movement that earns its leadership of society not by decree, but in practice. Our cadres must embody the values of service, of humility, and revolutionary commitment. For if the ANC falters, the revolution that is meant to bring about fundamental change in our country will falter. But if we act decisively to restore trust and renew our purpose, then this NEC and this generation of leadership can yet turn the tide to ensure that there's a better life for all South Africans. Our people are watching, and history is calling, and the future is waiting. This National Executive Committee is up to the task and will continue to execute the mandate it was given by our membership at our last conference. Thank you very much.